biggest challenge always is really trying to kind of play the line of pushing to get them to follow a process that we know that works, but also not basically telling them that everything they've done is wrong. And so the first thing we do is we really just assess of what's going on, and we build an outline or a guideline with a, let's call it a pre-intake call. Hey, these are the things we need in order for us to move things forward. And we originally created these elaborate spreadsheets and we did all of these things, but we found an email with about 5 bullets to get them aligned and then follow up prior to those meetings. The other thing that we do that I firmly believe in is building out a quick go-to-market strategy. And so oftentimes our clients don't have 3 or 4 weeks before we could start recruiting. So really what I do is I emphasize that if I get those 5 things, I can go to market really fast and I can start making an impact very quickly. The other thing is reporting. We didn't have a lot of reporting, and I remember I originally sent an email out every Monday
Right,
to
right,
just
right.
basically be like, hey, by the way, look what great work I'm doing. No, but it was also really to because ATS systems are not always as clear as they could be. But what I did is I said, hey, these are the candidates you're currently at the final stages. This is who's here, to just give an aggregate overview. But what I also found is that that information was often shared by our champions with their leadership teams. And what that allowed us to do is empower our clients with data to say, hey, by the way, we're not wasting a bunch of money. And by the way, we do have 5 candidates in final stages. And it really just allowed our clients to have a better experience.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, I mean, truly, when you're running a TA as a service project, recruiting as a service project, we consider these synonyms in our ecosystem here, is that you're a true talent partner acting as an extension of the in-house recruiting team. You really are
100%.
an extension of that team that can help the TA leader, ultimately the head of talent, scale up if they need more sourcers or scale down in a downturn, meeting that client where they're at in the current tech ecosystem and economic factors are definitely um,
Yeah.
at play there, right? So,
I
um,
wanted to add something to that though,
yeah,
is that what we found is that the traditional RPO model, it works for certain things, but it really didn't allow sort of for there to be a synergy and a partnership as
right,
much as they would like. And then also the other side where you just place a contract recruiter and you can 1099 them or whatever you want to call it. What we found
right,
that they were oftentimes not performing at the level that the client would have liked them to
right.
perform. And what we really did is we've built out a support system on the back end with account managers, or a lot of times it was me, really sort of acting as
Sure.
a guide to with the internal leadership, but also hold our recruiters accountable and upskill them when needed. And really that combination allowed us to really outperform, many of the competitors that we've had in the market over the years.
True that. Yeah, you're bringing up something that when I'm talking to talent leaders over the past 6, 12 months, I found there really is a gap in the market between these two ends of the spectrum. And often what those ends include for a talent leader are they think there's staff augmentation, contract recruiters, where they have to manage that resource that's not proven, not vetted, and often that additional manpower of managing that person's performance is actually taking away from the team's leadership time, that management hours, and that can be a certainly very time consuming thing and high risk and oftentimes expensive solution because those markups from those legacy contracts from those staffing firms tend to be price gouging. And that comes back to those staffing firm pricing models like contingent recruiting. They're often not friendly for the client. And on the other end of the spectrum, full traditional RPO typically has multi-year engagements and typically has open and closed fees for hires. Could be a great solution for a client that wants to outsource long term. But Justin, I think you just hit something on the head in terms of that middle solution, TAaaS and RaaS. What kind of time domains are clients, asking for your support for when you're running a project?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and every client is unique in their own way. And oftentimes, at least prior to this year, I guess, we were brought in before funding rounds. Really, what we did is we came in, built out, we went from a reactive to a proactive sort of hiring environment, and then also made sure that our clients were able to hit oftentimes their product roadmaps that they're looking to hit for their next funding round or their next series of growth. Generally, what we see is in order for us to make the biggest impact, 6 months is really kind of what we need at the bottom of it. And for more fractional work on just the head of talent side that can be adjusted slightly. But
Right.
I think we also found that with some of our longer term engagements, we can also scale up and down during those time frames in order to meet the growth of the company and also not to start from scratch every time there's a new sprint coming up. So it really depends. Another story that happened recently is we were with a client, we filled those roles, I did, really fast. And once that engagement ended, they brought me back and we had a similar role and we were able to fill that role within about 2 or 3 weeks because I had already built out that pipeline last time and we were just able to re-engage those same candidates. And so what they didn't realize what would happen is, hey, by bringing back or having this team ready to go, your time to fill just significantly decreases, and it was a win for all of us at the end.
Right.
The other thing I find interesting though is, and Anders, like, we've been working with a lot of enterprise clients, we've been working with a lot of startup clients. I don't know what you've been hearing in your conversations lately, but the vibe that I'm getting, we've built out this really, let's call it growth hackery sort of recruiting style with talent mapping and
Heard
messaging
that.
strategies. And over the last, several years, and we were able to play in this big sandbox, specifically on the startup side. What I'm hearing, at least that's my perspective, is a lot of this talent mapping, this talent analytics that we've been doing on the startup side is now starting to get, or at least there's interest on the enterprise client side. What have you been seeing on that?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's funny. I was looking back at my calendar and I've met with about 55 talent leaders over the past 6, 7 months or so, and really learning on the enterprise side that there's a major gap. And where that gap is, what I'm hearing is TA teams have been decimated. So they're running very anemic, they're running very thin, and they're not equipped for a sprint. So, should that sprint come on engineering, product design, sales, you name it, they're going to need a quick solution, something that's on demand, something where a team, a consultant can come in and help with that top of funnel. But also, they need something that's flexible, right? They don't need a multi year solution and they don't need a 30-day contractor. They really need a managed solution and a partner, that lever to pull for that middle ground, 6 to 12 month stopgap, that partner that can come in that's trusted and provide top of funnel sourcing or closing 100 engineers by the end of Q3, right? And so what that does is it definitely identifies a gap in the market for those enterprise companies that have anemic TA teams, and they're stuck oftentimes again with legacy preferred vendors on the staffing augmentation side of things, where they'll be calling contractors and they have to manage those folks, which often again takes that manpower away, where they want a partner that can manage those resources. And they don't want a multi-year RPO, and they don't need a multi-year RPO because of many reasons, budget or what have you. So that's where that recruiting as a service, TA as a service solution really is a sweet spot. But Justin, you touched on something. What am I hearing? I'm hearing a lot of uncertainty, right? I've met with, again, dozens of TA leaders, and I'm hearing we don't know what next year will bring, but they also don't know how capacity models will change from historically years past. They've used different functions for, say, attrition. So if attrition spikes next year for whatever reason, the Fed cuts rates, stock prices spike, there's a sprint that comes and there's more attrition, then they're going to be caught on their heels. So all of this kind of brings to the point of anemic TA teams, a Fed that might be continuing to pause or cut rates, and there's going to probably be a spike in demand for recruiters in 2024. So I don't have a crystal ball, but what I'm hearing TA leaders tell me is they think there will be a spike. They think they'll need support, but the board or the C-suite, often there's a gap in wanting to invest in that. So
And you mentioned this to me like in passing, but I think there's also on the TA leadership side, there's fatigue and on the cutting of resources. And
oh, it's
I
been
mean, it's
tough.
been
Yeah.
rough, right? And so
Yeah.
what have you been hearing from them on how they will augment? Is it going to be just US based? Is it going to be international? I know we've been seeing an influx
Yeah.
in nearshoring requests. What are you
Yeah.
seeing on that side?
It's a good question. About half of the new partnerships Flawless has supported this year have been near or offshore, lots of partnerships in Latin America. Justin, you've led several of those projects with great success. Mexico City being a great location for technical talent. And we've seen enterprise companies opening new offices there to some great success, all down Latin America because of the time zone alignment. We've seen clients successfully recruiting technical talent in Latin America. Also in Eastern Europe, we've seen Poland be a location companies have chosen. Highly competitive, very different climate. There tends to be a desire for candidates to work on a contract basis. They have better monetization, lower taxes. We've seen clients opening offices brand new, and we've helped with the research, talent intelligence to actually guide with data-driven total addressable market, TAM data, how to open an office in India, Bangalore versus Hyderabad, and which city might be the optimal solution. Again, fiercely competitive in those Indian markets, just as competitive as the Bay. But to bring this full circle, Justin, TA leaders do not want to have fully staffed TA teams. They feel it would be irresponsible if there's another cut next year, if there is a dip, say a double dip or another recession of sorts, or if things just remain low and they have to cut TA teams, it would be immoral to have a fully staffed TA team. So they're looking for solutions where they can have a flexible talent partner, someone who can scale up if there's a spike or down if things go down. Because again, the recruiting industry has been just crushed with uncertainty the past few years. It's definitely been a tough space for us.
I wanted to ask one last question and I don't know the answer to this, and please enlighten me, but we've evolved from just a strict contingent environment. By the way, we've tried every version of embedded, just so you know. We've gone ring around the rosy for that.
Process.
Yes, yes. And what services are we offering nowadays? I know you're mostly selling this stuff ahead of time, but what do we actually sell nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, we meet clients where they are at with what they need to be successful. So in the past quarter, we've done research, talent intelligence, talent mapping. We've actually used Bureau of Labor Statistic data here in the States. We've used other AI-powered tools to actually build lists and TAMs, total addressable markets, for individual specific skill sets and actually package this up just like a consultant would from Deloitte or McKinsey, and much more affordable from Flawless and better packaged data, if I may say so. But this research has been really important, and we've helped clients guide where they should open an office and why to the C-suite. We also do talent mapping, so list building. We also do sourcing, right, which might be recruiting as a service focused on sourcing. And we also do full-on multi-year RPO, which we've had several clients that have needed that ongoing support. But it's interesting. Man, one thing that I've seen that there's this spike during the downturn is just pure payrolling. So we have clients that need support. Sometimes they've found the candidate and they just don't have the internal headcount to have them on their FTE side. And they want a partner who can support those people on payroll where they feel like they have a home, where they get great benefits. And they also feel like there's a culture they can be a part of, say at Flawless, and they work at a client. Embedded as a contractor with them where they're managed by that client. So that's a new solution for us. That's not something we historically did, but there's been a spike in demand for that recently.
Cool. The only other question that I have to finish, I think, us off here is what are your predictions for Q1?
Well, personally and professionally, there's two different things. Personally, I'm having a baby. Stroller here, learning how to assemble and install the car seat. And any day now, my wife Anna and I are about to have baby girls. So I will probably be learning to change diapers and be a dad. And then professionally, I expect there to be a spike in hiring. In all honestness, I'm an econ major and a bit of an econ nerd in my personal life as well. And when I look at the Fed's actions, I think they'll continue to pause rates. I think they will cut rates sometime in Q1 or Q2. I think that will lead to a tech stock rally and a spike in hiring. And I think that spike will largely be led by building new products and new features around the AI boom as well. And I think because TA teams have been cut, they are understaffed and there will be a spike in hiring full-time RPO, RaaS, TAaaS, or contract recruiters. So I'm cheering on the TA industry, and I'm cheering you on, Justin. Thanks for joining me today on the first episode of this deep dive in talent. Have a good
Thank
one.
you. Bye.